my, you are you, we are we could live in such harmony. Can't you see apathy lies between, we could live in
Oh yes, in a number of ways. I think the one I can remember the most is when I was a store manager for the Gap back in my 20s, like my early 20s. And I was in another Gap store because I was picking up, we were transferring some shipments and stuff. And I, you know, as managers, you're told to kind of walk through the store to see what their customer service looks like and all of that fun stuff. And the manager, who was new and didn't know that I was the manager of another store, like following me, all that fun stuff. And I kind of asked her, I was like, "What are you following me?" She goes, "No." And I go, "Okay." And we were having this conversation, and then she kept following me, and I turned around and I was like, "Hi, I'm Connor. I'm here to pick up the transfer. I'm the store manager of," and you know, and her mouth just like kind of dropped. And it was this whole notion of, and I was like gapped out, right? Gap-geared out. And there was this whole notion of that she thought I was going to steal. And we had this long conversation, she and I, about, you know, well, where we're located, high theft, and it's mostly black people, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you are making an assumption based on a few things. And so that's one that kind of sticks out. I mean, but you notice it, and you make a decision whether to acknowledge it in the moment or not, because sometimes you just got to go about your day.
Not personally, but I have seen a lot of Latin people being discriminated.
Yes, but more, it was more like under the rug kind of things. It wasn't outright, no, you can't do that because of your race. It was more, people just kind of knew when you're like, hey, what are you doing? They just completely ignore you, or people not giving you like certain things, or saying, yeah, you have to work harder for this other than other people.
When I moved to Seattle, I realized that I was not a white person. I always grew up as a white person. When I moved here, somebody told me I would never be considered white.
Probably when I started interacting, when I was at school, when I started interacting with other people who weren't my same race. And it didn't really affect me. I just thought, oh, they're different, okay.
I don't know, it didn't affect me, and I don't know, I guess I realized when I was little, because, I don't know, that question kind of comes up for everyone, but it didn't really affect me, because I'm just like, oh, whatever, doesn't matter.
You know, it's really funny, because I think you just know, as you grow up, that you are different. I think the first time that I was aware that my skin meant that people would treat me differently is in a conversation with my parents. I went to a Catholic school, and there were 3 black kids, and the other 2, one was me, and the other 2 were my brother and sister. And so my mother gave us all library cards and said, when they don't give you what you want, you go find it for yourself. I'm guaranteed they won't give you what you want. That's a hard question, because, you know, you think, are you asking in terms of, had all this stuff not been in the media? I think they're in a hard position. And I think people who deal with them are in a really difficult position as well. Unfortunately, and it doesn't make people feel good to say it, but you have to take each cop for who they are as they are, because some of them are assholes, pardon the language. And some of them are really good people, and some of them are really, you know, and some of them are scared, and some of them aren't. And it's a mixed bag. And if I put myself in their position, I'm not sure that I can wake up every morning and go to a job where I don't know if I'm coming home. That's a hard space to be in. Now, that is not to condone the actions of a lot, right? Because I think it's jacked. I think that they need to be held accountable. But I also think that in holding them accountable, that the general public also needs to hold themselves accountable.
When I think of the police, I think of, well, in general, the entire police system, I think of a system that is corrupt. to a degree. I'm not saying all officers are bad. I'm saying that there are some officers in some police departments that are corrupt and that need to fix the ways that they profile people and the ways that they just go around and go about doing their business. Because as we've heard in the news, people, black people have been profiled and are being shot, and there are cases where they're just being shot because of the police officer just freaking out or just making a bad decision.
Well, recently there's been a lot about like police, brutality and violence and stuff, but that's not how I see the police. I see them as more like people that are there to protect us, and I think that's what they should be seen as because that's their job. I support their message, but I don't support their method. I think if they had done it in a more peaceful way, I would be totally 100% on board, but since they were just destroying their town, I don't really support them.
That is very sad what's going on in the US with the police and the different races and the possible discrimination.
I think if you read Frederick Douglass, he would have said, no surprise that we're here. I think that it's indicative of people being aware and having their eyes open, right? The fact that we are constantly hearing, since last August with Michael Brown, that we are constantly hearing about police activity and police excessive force and, or murder or killing or all of that stuff. What makes me sad is that people are willing to damage their own community to prove a point. But I understand it. I understand the anger. It's not where I would go. It's not where the people that I call friend and family would go. But I definitely understand the anger and the rage. I have it too. I just display it differently. I use poetry for it. Not everybody does it, right? Sometimes you just have to break a window. The thing about it is you can replace windows, you can replace buildings, you can't replace lives.
The media has covered it incorrectly. They're covering the rioting, not the actual protest and what they actually mean. Because the Baltimore riots, or protests, they were meant to be protests on the police and the injustice, but the media has portrayed it as just people being angry over nothing and just smashing things. And they haven't portrayed the actual protests like children and just people coming together to protest something that they are angry about.
Hace 6 años, cuando fuimos al Lago del Diablo, fuimos a acampar, pagamos en la oficina y como a las 2 horas llegaron los guardabosques a dejarnos saber que teníamos que guardar la comida porque en esa área había muchos osos. Se nos hizo extraño que nos dijeran a nosotros porque la gente de enseguida también tenía su comida encima de la mesa. No les dijeron nada. Después de que nos preguntaron si teníamos permiso de estar ahí, nosotros le dijimos que sí, que ya habíamos pagado por el área de acampar. Ellos nos preguntaron por lo menos unas 10 veces, que nos preguntaban y les contestábamos. Ellos empezaban a preguntarnos de dónde veníamos, de qué ciudad veníamos, en cuánto tiempo habíamos estado en esa área. Y cuando mi esposo les enseñó la identificación y les dijo que teníamos 20 años de estar en Seattle y veníamos del Paso, Texas. Entonces ya dijeron que estaba todo bien. Nunca entendimos por qué nos preguntaban varias veces que si teníamos permiso de estar ahí. En general no especificaban que si teníamos permiso de estar dentro de Estados Unidos. Nos dimos cuenta después